Hi guys, this is Elisa with FusionDIY. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I take items that I find by the side of the road, in yard sales and flea markets, and I repaint them, I repurpose them, and I put them in my booth for resale, which is located at the Pickers Junction, 141 East Broad Street in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. Well, I don't know about you guys, but here in the Northeast it has been blistering hot. Yesterday was 94 degrees, and so I decided that I was not going to go out, and I was simply going to work on a piece of furniture that's been sitting in my workshop for a while. So my workshop is in my basement where it was a nice cool 68 degrees. So I spent my day down there working on this pretty piece. So let's get to the video and please let me know what you think. This 3-drawer bedside table was picked up for me by my girlfriend, and it was in very, very good condition, except for a couple of issues. There was some broken veneer on this leg, and on the other leg, the veneer was loose altogether. So what I did was I glued this veneer, and on the other one, I glued what was still there, and I used some joint compound to fill in the gap, and then when that dried, I sanded it down, and you could never tell that there was ever a repair done. So while I was waiting for the joint compound to dry, I decided that I was going to give the piece a scuff sand. I didn't want to take the paint off altogether. I just wanted to rough up the paint enough so that there was something for the new paint to adhere to. I started painting this piece with the Waverly chalk paint in the color Celery, and I thought it would be a good match for the decoupage paper that I'm going to use on the drawer fronts. But once I got the one side of the piece painted, I really didn't like how light the color was, so then I moved over to the color Moss, and you can see it here on the rest of the piece. Now, what I'm doing is I'm trimming out the edge of the drawers, and I'm painting those white so that when I put my decoupage paper on, the paper will actually pop. And I'm just trying to clean up so that nothing of the green shows through underneath the decoupage paper. Once that was done, I took my heat gun and I dried everything, and I knew that I would have to go back over it again once I had the decoupage paper on, but I was okay with that. Now I wanted to show you the repair on the legs. You can see that there is no more veneer that's popping up, and the piece that I used the joint compound on also turned out really well. So those repairs were a success, and now I'm just going to finish painting the piece. Now this pretty piece of decoupage paper was a paper that I received in a creative box that was curated by Sonnet of Sonnet's Garden Blooms, and she had Royce from Roycycle Treasures create this paper to go in the box. And this is not available to everyone. If you wanted to get this paper, you'd have to purchase one of the boxes that Sonnet may have available. This was June's box. The subscription box for July will be coming out soon, but this was the first one, and I absolutely love this paper. It so reminds me of Monet's Garden, right? The watercolor, isn't that just beautiful? So what I'm doing is I'm fitting the paper to the drawer fronts, and then I am going to trim the paper down so that I can fit it onto the drawer fronts. Then I'm going to take a little bit of my Decopage medium, and I'm just going to stick that piece of paper, the Decopage paper, onto the drawer front. That is what's called your starter strip, and that is the beginning of decoupaging your piece onto the drawer front. If you've never decoupaged before, oh my gosh, it is so easy, and there are such an amazing number of decoupage papers out on the market. This one happens to be very beautiful, and it is going to fit the color of my cabinet very, very nicely. So I was excited to be able to marry the two together. Then I moved on to the second drawer, and I basically did the same thing. I outlined the drawer front with my fingernail just so that I had a good line to follow, and I cut the piece out, dry fit it to the drawer, and then I went ahead again with my starter strip and laid that piece in place, and then I decoupaged the rest of the paper onto the drawer front. And then, last but not least, this was the top drawer, and I happen to really love this piece of paper. I just love the trees, I love the sky, I just love everything about this, and it just was such a wonderful paper to work with. And if you haven't used any of Roycycled Treasure's decoupage papers before, they're really not expensive, and they just turn your project into something extraordinary. So again, same thing, I'm going to start with my starter strip, I'm going to put that in place, and then I'm going to decoupage the whole thing down. I set those aside, and then after about an hour I came back and I went over the top of the paper with the decoupage medium, and really there's not a whole lot of technique behind this. It's very, very simple. You just go over it. You just have to use a light touch, because if you press too hard you could run the risk of tearing the paper, and you certainly don't want to do that because you've put so much work and effort already into the piece. I set those aside, and then I started to work on the hardware. These beautiful pieces of hardware, even though they were cleaned, they just lost their luster. So I grabbed some rub and buff in the color Antique Gold, and I went over the three pieces of hardware with the rub and buff. And wait till you see the comparison between the one that I'm doing here and the one that I'm going to be doing next. It's really amazing. You can get this rub and buff at Hobby Lobby, and the tube runs about $6. It is so worth it. And so I slowed the video down so that you could see the comparison between the one that I just did and the one that I'm going to do next. Look at the difference. Isn't that amazing? Once the drawers were dry, I went and I trimmed off the excess paper from the drawer fronts, and I knew that when I was doing this I was going to have to go back and touch up the paint on the drawer fronts, which is what I did. And then while that was done, I decided I was going to give this a second coat of paint, the piece itself, and so here I am giving it another coat of the celery, color celery from Waverly. When that paint dried, I went back and I gave this piece 2 coats of polyurethane. This is the Wipe-On polyurethane by Minwax. I really do like this polyurethane. I also mixed a little bit of paint in the polyurethane so that you would not get the white haze over the piece, and it really turned out lovely. I gave it 2 coats because I knew that especially the top was going to be used and abused, and I wanted to protect that paint as much as I possibly could. When that was done, I put the hardware back into the drawers, and wait till you see how these look against the decoupage paper. I just was thrilled at how lovely that turned out. So here's how it looks on the drawer front, and I think the hardware turned out beautiful. And here is the finished project. I love this piece. I love how it turned out. I love the color paint. I love the decoupage paper. It's just really turned out to be a great project. So, how do you fit 8 hours worth of work into a 15-minute video? I did a lot of editing, but you get the gist of what I did, and I'm glad to say that the piece is done, and booth sales at the moment have been pretty slow, and from what I understand, in an election year, that's not uncommon. So, it is going to stay here with me until I have some space for it in my booth. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it was an inspiration to you to get a piece of furniture and make it over rather than purchasing something new. By doing this, you keep these beautiful pieces out of landfills, and that's always a win. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be notified every time I release another video. Also, your comments are really important to me, and I answer every single one. So please don't be afraid to leave a comment below, and I will definitely respond to your comment. I really do appreciate you spending time with me today. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.